Lesson 11:6 is on the area of composite figures. I can find the area of two or more shapes within a figure. So composite just means more than one put together. So first let's start with a warm-up. Pause the video and try these. Alright, you should have gotten 60 inches squared for your first one because it's just base times height. Second one's a triangle. 1/2 base times height would be 30 inches squared. A rectangle is just base times height, so that one should be 161 inches squared. And the last one's a triangle, so it's 1/2 times the base times the height, which is 77 inches squared. Now it says, now add all the areas together. What is the sum of all the areas? So if I add all of my answers together, I get a grand total of 328 inches squared. So think about if these pieces were all connected together, they would all have a total area of 328 inches. And that's kind of what we're going to be doing today. Here are your formulas. Make sure that you have these available to you. Okay, so first this one's really obvious what two shapes make it up, but you can see that there is a rectangle and that there is a triangle. And so we're going to find the area of each. The rectangle would be base times height, so area equals base times height. My base is 7 and my height is 8. The trickiest part about these is to make sure that you're looking just at this amount and saying, okay, that's going to be the same as this. My height is this. Don't go with the 16. That's talking about this entire length. That is not my base. It's way too long. So my answer to this part is 56 centimeters squared. Now looking over here, I need to figure out what my base is of my triangle. So if I look and say this was 7 centimeters on this side, 16 make up the whole thing. So I'm going to take 16 minus the 7 that were already used up, and I'm left with 9 centimeters left on the right hand side for the triangle's base. The height of the triangle is the same as the height of the rectangle, and it's 8. So I'm going to use my formula: 1/2 base times height, 1/2 9 times 8, and I get 36. Put those areas together and I get a grand total of 92 centimeters squared. Let's try this kite. I'm noticing I could find the area of every triangle that I see, but I also notice that there's a big triangle here and a big triangle there, and I think I'm going to try and do it with less triangles. So I'm going to look at this and say, if this was my triangle, my base would be 6 plus 6, which is 12. So 1/2 base times height is my area of a triangle. So I'm going to take 1/2 times 12 times the height would be this 6. And when I do that, I get 36 centimeters squared for the small part. Now let's do the bigger part. My base again is 12, so 1/2 base times height. I'm at the base of 12 and a height of 10. When I do that, I get 60 centimeters squared. Put those together and I get option C, 96 centimeters squared. Alright, if you're getting the hang of this, feel free to pause the video and try them at any time. For this shape, I'm noticing that if I drew a line right there, it would make a great rectangle-triangle combination. And this bottom is shared. 10 inches is shared, so I'm going to figure out the base of my rectangle is 6 inches. The base of my triangle would be what was left, which is 4 inches. I'm noticing that this part is 6 inches, but the whole piece is 9. So 9 take away 6, what's left for my height of my triangle is 3 inches. Alright, so I'm going to Find the area of each. I'm just taking base times height for this one and get 56 inches squared. For the triangle, 1/2 times the base times the height, and I get 6 inches squared. Put them together, I get 62 inches squared. Alright, so this one I see a few things. I see definitely a square on the top, and if I want to, I could do a square and a rectangle, or a lot of people see that this is actually, I didn't draw that very well, this is actually 4 of the exact same sized square. If we look at how it's divided up, it works out just perfectly that way. So if I find the area of one of them, 25 meters squared, then I know that this one's going to be 25, this one's going to be 25, this one's going to be 25 for a total of 100 meters squared. Alright, this one's super tricky. I looked at this for a while. Even though there's a little dotted line that shows a trapezoid in the right-hand corner, I ended up cutting mine up a little bit differently. And so what I decided to do was draw a line, oops, it's a little low, here, and I have a rectangle down below and a trapezoid up above. And the reason I did that cutoff was because then I only had 2 shapes. Otherwise I would have had 3, and you always want to have the smallest number of shapes just so that it works more quickly. So when I did this, on the top, my trapezoid, I used the formula 1/2 times the height times base 1 plus base 2. Alright, so my height for this trapezoid is going to be the same as this over here that shows 5. So I've got 1/2 times 5 times, now base 1 and base 2. Base 1 I'm going to call the bottom there, and that would be the same as this bottom, so I get 25 plus base 2 would be my top, and I get 12. When I do the math, I get a total of 925. Does that make sense? I gotta check my notes here. Yes, 925. Sorry, 92.5. That makes much more sense. 92.5 feet squared. That's just for the trapezoid. Now let's do the rectangle down here below. The rectangle is a lot easier. It's just base times height. So my base is 25 and my height is 10 for a total of 250 feet squared. Put these two things together. And I did this wrong, so I'm going to redo this. 92.5. I get 0.524. 342.5 feet squared. I want you to pause the video and try this one. I hope you did the same thing as me and cut it off like this. Had a trapezoid up at the top and a big rectangle down below. My big rectangle down below, it looks like it has a base of 16 and a height of 12. So I get 192 when I multiply those two together. So that's my first value. My second one is much, much, much smaller. I have a base, or 2 bases, so I'm going to use my formula. 1/2 times the height times base 1 plus base 2. That's first, so it's in parentheses. So my top base is easy. It's showing me it's 2. My bottom base is harder. I'm noticing I have 6 on this side, 6 on that side, and when you put the whole line together, you get 16. So I'm going to take those 2 6s away, and I'm left with 4. So the base of that is 4. The height, notice here I have 13 as my height, and this one I have 12. So if this is 1 foot longer than this one, that means the height of my trapezoid is 1 foot. So 1/2 times 1 times 4 plus 2, which is 6. So 6 times 1 is 6. Half of 6 is 3. This is just 3 feet squared. And it's tiny, so that looks right. Put these things together for a total of 195 feet squared. Alright, pause the video and try these two. For the first one, I got 38 meters squared. For the second one, I got 194 inches squared. Have a good night.